All right, welcome back. Just breezing through the first hour here of a Money Monday edition of Liquid Lunch on Biz TV. I'm John Tobacco. Dow's doing okay. It's holding his own, but keeping my eye closely on a developing situation here in Bitcoin. As you know, for the last month and a half or so, I've been telling you 10,300 was my next resistance level that we needed to bust through. And through 10,300, I saw 11, 12, potentially 15 if there's any calamities in the U.S. capital markets, 15,000. The big news for me today, Bitcoin just broke through strong through that 10,300. It's at 10,408 now. 10.5, 10.6 are in sight, and that will just foment some more buying. There's a thing called FOMO, the fear of missing out. And if people were trying to buy it at 94, 95, ooh, let me wait. Now when it busts through 10, 10.5, they see all kinds of stops being busted through. Everybody jumps in. That foments it. Sometimes can really drive it. And people are short Bitcoin also now. And if they're short, they're stuck. So there could be a bunch of mitigating factors here that could really eliminate some hurdles for Bitcoin in the near term. Keep your eye on that, okay? In the meantime, during the pandemic, maybe you're struggling, maybe you lost your job, you didn't get approved for, and now you got credit card bills, you're not paying them. At some point, you got to dust yourself off. You got to stand up and you got to start fighting back, get that job back, get that credit right, and get back onto your plan for your life. And somebody who knows all about this and can maybe even help you get back on your feet and clean up your credit. Credit repair expert Eric Stuerken joins us now. He's the owner of Better Qualified in Eatontown, New Jersey. They are a credit repair and credit management firm. And Eric, business must be booming right now for you guys because everybody that didn't get unemployment is struggling hard.
John, you're absolutely right, and thanks for having me. And I think it's going to get a lot worse. I think we have the extra $600 they're deciding on now. Hopefully today we get some announcement, but I don't think everyone's going to get that extra $600 on unemployment. And for those that didn't get any of it, it's been tough, especially if you're from the service industry. We all see it on the Jersey Shore. It's been, restaurants open at 25%. Makes it kind of difficult for businesses to stay in business. But, we'll see what happens after the end of, today they're supposed to announce something about the unemployment. And we'll see. But like you said, it's getting tough out there. Credit card debt is starting to pile up. I've spoken to a bunch of friends down in, all over the country, kind of where they're on lockdown. But, some of these service industries are just using their credit cards to pay bills, and we'll see. We'll end up seeing what happens after today.
Yeah, well, the early word that was leaking out was that it's going to go from 600 to 200. And as terrible as that may sound, I think that might push people who are not taking their jobs back to actually go back to work if they're not getting that extra 400. So I think that's maybe a happy medium. But one of the things that I've been talking about for years, and I really believe there's a government war on cash. They do not want us regular people having cash in our hands. The pandemic gave them what I thought a great opening. Almost every bank closed a boatload of branches. So you can only go to the drive-through. Most drive-throughs you can only take out 1,500. So if you need to take out more than 1,500 in cash, you got to go in a branch, and it's another impediment to getting cash. Now you're reporting that they're also not issuing more credit cards now, right?
Correct. Yeah. Well, the banks have started now to not only not issue, but also to cut back and cut limits. 2/3. I mean, the number at the crazy with the 600, but 2/3 of Americans that were on unemployment were making more on unemployment. So in that, the banks kind of forecast everything, envision what might happen. They're probably smarter than us. One out of 5 people in America got their credit limit cut, and that's up to 5,000 in some cases. I mean, that's a big number. That's 20% of the United States. The other quarter of that number, because between the two of them, had their limit had just cards closed. And what ends up happening when this happens, because they call it utilization, right? It makes up 30% of your FICO score. So it's what you have available to compared to what you are using. So easy math: if you have a $10,000 limit and you use $2,000 on your credit card, that's a 20% utilization. anything over 28% is now going to start to hurt your credit score. And let's just say you're maxed out and now you're at 100% utilization. Your score could be, could fluctuate up to 30%. So when that happens, let's just say they cut your credit line or they actually close your card, the utilization always has to go down because now they're taking away your credit limit. That's what's called the downward spiral. And when certain banks have certain flags out there because they see your credit report, even though you don't, you're not paying attention to it, but let's just say your score goes from a 720 to a 660. Now you're a flag with, let's just say, Chase or Bank of America. And what they'll be forced to do is now take away your credit limit of credit that you're not using.
And then that makes you, and then taking away that available credit, that makes your utilization rate go up because you still have the same amount of debt, but you have less cash to do your utilization.
Yeah, you have less utilization.
So then they actually kill your credit score. And I got to tell you, Eric, I've been on this Wall Street thing for 30 years, and back in 2008, I was one of the only guys on television talking about this same thing, that banks were going around and they were cutting the amount available on people's home equity lines. And that, to me, I was calling every bank short back then. I almost got famous from those calls. But one of the things I knew back then, or at least I saw in advance, was this is an accounting trick too for the banks. When the banks are having problems and they got to keep writing off debt, the way that they're structured and with the Federal Reserve, they have to reduce their liability to offset the stuff they're writing off. So that's why they start hitting on people with good credit and lowering their limit, because people with good credit aren't maxed out. So they chop away at that to offset the write-downs so they don't have to have as much cash reserves. And I think this could be another precursor to a big problem with like a Wells Fargo or somebody out there who could be on the brink of blowing up when they start doing this stuff.
Yep. And what's going to happen too, of course, you have people that are maxed out now. Let's just say the 600 gets cut and now they're back down to 200 and, they can't make minimum payments. They can't find a job because now a lot of the white collar jobs, they say between 20 and 30% have been reduced just because of, either computing or AI, as they call it, or just that, they tweaked their internal, operations and made it so that, less people could do the same jobs. So we'll see what happens. I mean, again, with credit card debt, once you get over that 100%, now your credit scores, you're shot. So once you're shot, what happens? Now you have more and more and more other creditors that are going to flag you. And now at the end of the day, you have no credit. And then what do you do?
Hey, Eric, there's a lot of shysters out there. I've been around the block a few times who say, oh, yeah, we can get your credit fixed. Boom, boom, we'll do this, we'll do that. 2 months, pay me this, pay me that. You guys are reputable. You guys are qualified. In fact, you guys are better qualified in Eatontown, New Jersey. And what's the reality of the situation? If somebody's credit's mucked up, how long should it take you guys to at least show them some material progress, and what should it cost them, roughly?
Yeah, and I say the same thing to everybody. Once I see a credit report, you can kind of, like a doctor, gauge how long and what you can and can't do. Majority of people, the credit issues they have, they did to themselves. I mean, a lot of times you have people say, this wasn't me, this was identity theft, or this is a family member, or, I have no idea what this is. In those cases, listen, the bureaus have to move within 30 days. If they don't, and you have proper paperwork and they don't move within 30 days, they open themselves up for lawsuits. We're hoping for that, right? So, but majority of the time, it's someone that went late on their credit card payment, went late on a mortgage, or forgot to pay a bill that they got from a doctor or, from a hospital. Now they have a medical bill. Good for us, though, two Julys ago, so July 18th, they changed the law where medical debt, it took 6 months before they could attach it to your credit report as a collection. So they had to keep coming after you instead, until they put that on your credit report. So that helped us. But primarily what we tell customers, and we've been doing this since 2005, on average, you're about 90 days away from being able to correct some things. The law says it should take 30 days for them to investigate. But since COVID and April 1st, they came out with statements that said, instead of having a 30-day window where they have to respond. It was more of a gray open area that says as fast as they could respond.
Ah, okay, that's a little scary.
Yeah, it was a crazy kind of couple months where we would demand certain things and the bureaus just wouldn't move. We're now seeing a lot of stuff getting removed, which is they're probably back in business and getting caught up. So,
right.
timing is pretty awesome for for the industry.
Fantastic. We're gonna have to leave it there. If you're having problems with your credit, don't get scammed. Okay, nobody can do something for you in 30 days. You heard it here from Eric. It's gonna be 60, 90, could be 6 months. But if you need help, go to Better Qualified in Eatontown, New Jersey. Eric Stuerken will help you out. Thanks for helping us out today. And you guys stay right with us. We'll be back right after this to talk about the rabbit hole and Justin Bieber.